Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming back if you've been here before, and welcome if you are new. Today I'm going to show you how to prepare Seamoss, also called Irish moss. So this is what it looks like. Well, this is what I'm accustomed to. This is the brand called Angel brand. It's also called Irishmoss or Seamoss. And normally I get it in a small package like this, dehydrated, and all that is like salt and sand because it's grown underwater. This is an older package that I just had laying around, and I actually just found it before I decided to make this video. I couldn't find it. It was in my cupboard buried somewhere. So last time I went to the market, I saw this packaging, and it wasn't that expensive. It's $4.74, but it's it's like what, 3 times the size of this. So this is what it looks like. And if you get your hands into here, rub it a little bit, you'll see that this too has salt and sand on it. So what we want to do with this is take it to the sink. We're going to take out how much we want. Now this is going to double in size. I'm going to put a few pieces into a clean bowl. And then we're going to rinse it out. It can be warm water. Just want to rinse it and get your hands into it. And you want to like just rub it real vigorously. Once you get enough water covering it, that should be enough. And you want to rub it. Thoroughly. You get to rubbing like that, you will see the sediments breaking off into the bottom of the bowl. And as I'm pouring it out, you'll see some will stay behind. That sand, that salt, that's just basically ocean dirt, because Seamoss is grown in the ocean. Even if it's grown in a farm, it's like salted water. So I've rinsed out the previous water to get all of the salt and sand out of the bottom, or else it's just going to stay there. And this is the second set of water, so this is fresh water that we're rinsing it in. So now you still want to go in again and make sure that you get like between all of the little branches, and make sure that all of the salt and all of the sand washes off of it. Now it is Seamoss, so it comes from the sea, which is salted water, so it should smell like good Seamoss should smell like the sea. Rub it through again. Sometimes these dark pieces come off, like a piece came off the first round through. Sometimes it's just the Seamoss. It's just like a darker color. I don't know why certain pieces vary. So what we're gonna do is rinse this out again, like pour this water out, and then put it in a smaller container and allow it to soak overnight, 8 to 24 hours, so overnight or up to a whole day you want it to soak. And I have some that has already been soaked, and this is it here. So I just had it in a little carry-away container soaking, and I didn't put boiling hot water on it, but it was like more than room temperature. So what's gonna happen, this is considerably more. As it sits in the water, it will plump up. You see that? And it's going to soften. Like this piece at the bottom, this piece just came from the bottom. Wow, this is so soft. And it's starting to melt away. You can see the difference in the texture from this one to this one that's still more firm. Let me see. I'm pretty sure that, you know, you'll be able to tell the difference in size. This one has yielded. And like, this is a smaller piece, but I mean, this hasn't soaked. But do you see the difference in size? How much, like, it will swell up. Sorry. How much it's going to swell up once it soaks in the water. So we're going to put that one back. Put this one back with these where it came from. So what we're going to do next is empty this whole container into a pot and put it on the stove. We're probably going to cover it with a little bit more water and get that onto the stove, onto some heat, and then we'll come back from there. Okay, so we are at the stove. I'm going to turn the heat on. I think I'll put it on the back burner, but I'm going to put it on very low. It's going to like between 1 and 2 because we want it to take its time. Okay, we're going to empty the Seamoss into the pot. And I'm going to add some distilled bottled water. Kind of want it to cover the Seamoss, or just about. You hear that bubbling? It's because I've got another pot cooking. Once I'm in the kitchen, I kind of like to multitask and do multiple things at once. But this is a Seamoss here. We're just going to leave it on a low flame, leave it open, and allow the Seamoss to melt away. This can and will take some time. So we are not in any rush at all. It could take maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. I mean, depending on how long you leave it to soak and how warm the water was. Like if you put it in boiling water and let it soak, it will be very soft, and it may not need that long of a time to boil out and soften. But we're just going to leave it here until it's ready, and then we'll be back. So we're putting it on at 321, and we'll be back. We are still slowly bubbling away. It's 2 hours later. It's melting out now, piece by piece. We just want them to cook. And the more it cooks, the more it's gonna swell up with the water and just kind of melt out. Okay guys, so it has been about 3 hours. I think we put this on the stove at 321. It's now 625. This is where we're at. Let me get a spoon. Sorry. The Seamoss has broken up and melted down into little bits. I added about a cup more of water. And I'm just going to leave it and let it continue to simmer. And what's going to happen is this is going to become a gel. It's going to get thick. And when it thickens back up, I won't add any more water again. But when it thickens back up, I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to remove it from the stove. Let it cool a little bit. And then put it in the blender to blend it. Okay, so we'll be back. Once again, this was just the Seamoss alone, no herbs, no salt, just boiling in water. Okay guys, it is 7:07. The stove is still low, between 2 and 3, and this is what we're working with. It's like simmering. You see the little bubbles on the side. What happens is the Seamoss is gonna, I keep saying melt out, because it kind of forms like a gel, and this it's like a skin is gonna form on the top, and that's fine. That's normal. Don't worry about that. It's gonna form like a gel. It's not all the pieces may not melt out completely, but we've had this on the stove now almost 4 hours. Like I said before, I had added like a cup of water to it to try and get the other pieces to get soft. You just want to make sure they're soft enough that like I've got a chopstick, and if you can split it with the chopstick, if you can like cut it and it'll break up, then you know it's soft enough. Or basically by the time it gets translucent, you can see through it, you know it's soft enough. I'm going to turn the fire off and let it cool down. Well, turn the stove off. It's not fire, it's electric. I'm going to turn it off, let it cool down. Then once it cools down, we're going to put it in the blender and blend it up. Okay, so our Seamoss has cooled down. And I don't know if you can tell, if you can see the gel, the jelliness of it. It's kind of formed a little crust. And do you see that? How it's gel-like. Now if it cools all the way down, it's going to completely harden like Jello. So what we're going to do now is put it into the blender and blend it up. If you have an immersion blender, you could use that. It might be easier, but I don't have one, so I'm gonna do old school with a regular blender. Okay, so now that I've got it all into the blender, scrape the pot clean. Got it all into the blender. I'm not gonna add any extra water, but I am just gonna blend it as is. Maybe I do need to add some water. I took off the top because it's still a little bit warm, so we're gonna let the steam come off from the top. Because it is so extremely thick, I'm going to add a tad bit of water into it. I did not want to add water. I'd rather it more concentrated. So I think in all I've added maybe about 1/4 cup of water into here. But it's still very thick. And that's it. We are done with the preparation of the Seamoss. Now, the next step would be to mix it. However you're going to drink it. Being from the Caribbean, most people now, you want to put this into another container, preferably a glass container. And then you would take some of this and mix it with some milk, some condensed milk, some vanilla essence, and some sugar. And that's how most Caribbean people drink their Seamoss. We don't drink it that way here because my husband doesn't particularly like it like that. But I mix in my Seamoss with the smoothies that I'm making him, or if he drinks oatmeal in the morning. If I make the oatmeal, I'll put like 2 tablespoons of the Seamoss into the oatmeal, or 2 tablespoons of Seamoss into any kind of porridge that I'm making for him, and it just melts out and it has no flavor. 2 tablespoons is not going to give it a flavor, even though because it's Seamoss from the sea, it will have a slightly salty, like sea flavor to it, if that makes sense. But go ahead, if you've reached the end of the video, if you're still here, thank you. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what else you want to see me make, or if you want to see how I use it, let me know down below, and then I'll make another video showing you what I normally do. Bye. Thanks for coming.